Hey everybody, Dr. Diane Mueller from MyLyme.clinic. In this video, we're going to talk about Lyme disease tick bites. Now, there's a huge rumor going on that I want to dispel because there's more recent research on this as far as the time of transmission. So many times people are being told that if they get bitten by a tick, that it'll be 1 to 2 days, 24 to 48 hours before they have to worry about transmission, meaning if they get the tick off in a very short time period, they're fine. Some of the new studies have actually shown us that it can be as little as 4 hours for disease transmission, so a much shorter time period. And some of the thought behind why this is happening is what we now realize is that when ticks, this is going to be a little gross, when ticks actually, when they feed on us, they do not only have one feeding, meaning they could bite a human, they could attach to a human for a while, they could fall off, and they could bite another human. And they tend to transmit late in their feeding cycle, meaning if they were already on one host and they didn't fully get fed, they could fall off, they could attach to another host, another human or an animal, and they could then deliver in a very short time window the disease to that second human because that second human was bitten later in that feeding process. So the other thing with this is we want to make sure that you know that Lyme disease, while ticks are the most studied, the most common, now there's very, very limited studies. There's only a couple studies out there, but it looks like Lyme can be transmitted possibly in mosquitoes and fleas. So if this, we still need more research on this, but if this turns out to be what is happening, then we need to really get out of the mindset of tick only for transmitting Lyme disease. And for those of you that don't know, Lyme disease is caused by a bacteria. And so what happens is when the tick bites us, it delivers whatever's in its bloodstream, which could be Lyme Borrelia bacteria. So the bacteria is called Borrelia, which causes Lyme disease, but it could also be a myriad of other things. So make sure that you are not just using the timeline as a way of assuming that you have Lyme or you don't have Lyme. Also, beyond that, make sure that you realize that there are other things that can be transmitted besides Lyme disease, right? So if you were bitten, it's not only Lyme you're worried about, it's whatever else that gross insect was carrying. And then the other thing to make sure to realize is that not everybody gets acute symptoms. So if you look online, you see things like fever, rash, bullseye rash, and that's true. Some people do get those symptoms, and sometimes that can be a really great way of understanding that you contracted Lyme disease, but most people, actually the majority of people, do not get those kind of symptoms, and therefore it can be missed, it can go dormant, and then years later, the bacteria, the Borrelia, can say wake up and cause a wide variety of problems, of symptoms, of disease processes. So make sure you're working with a Lyme literate clinician when you are determining if this is a problem for you. You can look to find more information about my Lyme clinic, my Lyme.clinic, the clinic that I'm the founder of, in the show notes. If you like this information, subscribe to the channel. Please do check out the other videos. We have lots of videos on testing, on other things to be aware of, on do's and do not. So definitely check out the channel if you're concerned about this, and I'll see you on the next one.